Unsyndicated presents Wutt The Puck with Sean Belegian.
Well, welcome into another edition of Wutt The Puck here on the Unsyndicated Network. My name is Sean Belegian, along with Mike Iveson. And of course, we are kindly joined now by, he's one of those local legends, had an opportunity to stay in state for a lot of his hockey career, obviously, whether it be with CompuWare or moving to the Red Wings, of course, his time at Western Michigan. Fantastic guy as well, still a big part of the community, and really looking forward to seeing him in person at the big event, April 27th at Big Boy Arena. Of course, Wings alumni taking on the Rangers. We'll be talking about that throughout the show, but let's welcome him in. Danny DeKaiser kindly joining us. Danny, really appreciate you taking the time. Thanks so much for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me, guys. Happy to be here.
Hey, Danny, one of the things I'm always intrigued at, is a guy's path, and no two paths are the same. Everybody thinks they have an answer. This is the path. That's the path. It depends on what works for the individual. What set you upon your path? As I mentioned, you played CompuWare. You chose to go the USHL route and go to Western Michigan. More on that in a minute. But what made you make that decision to go down that road?
I think at the time, you're just playing and trying to play at the highest level possible. Everybody has aspirations of playing in the NHL, and their dream is to try to make it. You know what I mean? But everybody knows that it's pretty low chance for that to actually happen. And so for me, it was just, hey, take it one step at a time. And, when I was 18, I wasn't thinking like, oh, I'm going to be playing in the NHL. Or when I was 17, I was just, in my mind, I was just thinking, I'm just having fun playing hockey and trying to play as long as I can. So that's kind of the path and the mentality that I had. Because, when I was 17 and 18 years old, I was still playing, just midget major hockey. And a lot of guys at that point are off to juniors, or, some guys are already getting drafted in the NHL at that time. So that wasn't me. And, I didn't really necessarily not getting drafted, have a chip on my shoulder or anything like that. I was just, I just took it as, hey, you're not good enough, and you just gotta get better,
All right, we've had a couple of guys on, Danny, and Ron Duguay and Mark Buffet, and they spoke about what it meant to them and to their career playing juniors at home. You went away from home, starting in the BCHL to play juniors. I myself have a son that's going to be going off and playing juniors this summer. Can you tell us what going away from home, how that started your career and how that helped you grow as a player?
Well, I think anytime you move away from home, especially in your late teenage years, you kind of grow up fast and you learn things quickly. Just because I wasn't at home. You don't have your parents aren't around. They're not cooking you dinner every night and setting you up with everything that you need. But, you do have a good support system with the billet families and all that. Obviously it's a little different than your own family, because it's a different family, but it's just something that you got to get used to. And, I just think it's one of those things that it helps you to grow up, quicker than you think you are going to sometimes. And, I had some great experiences. Yeah. I played 2 years of juniors, 1 year out in the BCHL, 1 year, Sioux City, Iowa, and, had great families, great experiences both times. And, it's just one of those things where you're just there playing hockey, and you're with all the team, and you're just having a good time and just enjoying yourself, and just kind of all you're really focused on is playing hockey, because, most guys are out of high school at that point and all that. So it's a good time. It's fun. And, you grow up quick doing that.
Danny DeKaiser kindly joining us here on Off the Air. This is Wutt The Puck, of course, and he is going to be part of the Alumni game. This is the second Alumni Cup game, of course. Wings played the Bruins back in September. They'll be taking on the Rangers April 27th at Big Boy Arena. Danny, talk to me about your decision to go to Western Michigan. We have a mutual friend, a guy you might know Livonia Stevenson's head coach, David Mitchell, who made that decision and went to venerable Lawson Arena. Tell me about that decision. What made you pick Kalamazoo?
Well, at the time I was in Sioux City, my second year of juniors, and at that point you're just, your second year of juniors are hoping to get an offer from somebody to go play college somewhere. And I had started that season really good, and I had an unfortunate injury in practice, and had a pretty bad high ankle sprain, and I started out the year really good. The first, I don't know, 10 games or so, I was kind of on fire, and it was kind of everything was starting to come together. And then somebody fell on my ankle in practice and got it all twisted up. So I had a pretty bad high ankle sprain there for a couple months. So I missed like 2 months of the season. And I was talking to several other schools right at the start of the year, because there's a big USHL showcase that they do where a lot of scouts come and watch. And like I said, at that time I was playing really well. So I was talking to some of those schools. And then as I got hurt, I was kind of talking to a little bit less at the time, but Western Michigan was one of the schools that I was talking to a lot throughout the whole process. And it was, I kind of wanted to, I'd been gone, for 2 years at that point, away from home, and it was a good opportunity to kind of move back into the state and just keep playing hockey. And I knew I was a huge CCHA fan growing up. I always watched a lot of the the college games at the Joe that they used to have, and the GLI when it was at the Joe, and Michigan State and Michigan Tech, and getting a chance to play in that conference, with Notre Dame and all those schools that I just mentioned too, was just something that I thought was a good opportunity. And they were the year before I got there, they only had like 4 wins, and it was the program wasn't doing very well. So I also saw that as, some opportunity to maybe step in and get some playing time at the same time. So that's kind of what happened. We had some other freshmen who were really good that year, our first year. And, they were a bit of a surprise, and I was playing well at the time too, as a bit of a surprise. And, things kind of started coming together for us. Ended up playing 3 years there at Western, and we were right in the thick of things. For pretty much all 3 years. The 1 year we beat Michigan in the finals at the Joe to win the CCHA, and that was sweet. That was unbelievable. And then playing in the NCAA tournament, we made it two out of the 3 years. The one, I think my last year we missed it, but we went from kind of being a bunch of no name nobodies to beating Michigan at the Joe, and then teams and everybody in the conference and scouts start taking notice. So when you start winning, especially like pro scouts and all that, they take notice, and they know that you have good players and all that. So they're starting to be around the rink a lot more, and watching a lot more games. So for us, it was really just good opportunity for us, kind of going in there and winning, and then getting a lot of good exposure from those pro scouts.
Yeah, it looks like getting some good exposure. You had a nice career at Western Michigan. 2012 runs around, and some NHL teams start pursuing you as a free agent. Now, I got to ask, did anybody have a chance when the Red Wings came knocking, or did you want to play for that hometown team? And if so, who was the number 2 team?
Yeah, I mean, it was it was always pretty much the Wings from day one. Once I started talking to teams, because at the time they were in a bit of transition too. So that's the same thing that I kind of went through at Western. The Wings were going through a few years later, because the year before, Lidstrom had just retired. Rafalski had retired like 2 years prior. They just traded Brad Stewart back to San Jose, so he could be closer to his family. And, they were just in a little bit of a kind of some change. And I saw that once again as some opportunity. And, they were 2013 was that lockout year. So it was a 48 game season. And I signed, 3/4 of the way through the NHL season after the college season ended. And, they were in a spot, they were fighting for a playoff spot, kind of a lot like they are right now, where they're bouncing back and forth between that wild card spot. And that's where they were at the time too. So I kind of just looked at that and saw that there might be an opportunity there. And, that the defense core had been going through a lot of changes. So it might be a good chance to step in and play. And, it was also the Wings. I grew up watching them on ice, and, I go from Lawson Ice Arena in Kalamazoo, which I love, and then I walk into the Joe, and all of a sudden my teammates are Zetterberg and Datsu. It changes pretty quick sometimes, and if you get caught up in it, sometimes it might take you off your game. But those guys were great. Those veteran guys, when I first started with the Wings, they were awesome at making young players feel comfortable and just allowing guys to be able to go out there and play their game and all that. So they were great teammates.
Danny DeKaiser kindly joining us, of course, former wing defenseman. He'll be one of the many NHL stars out there at Big Boy Arena, April 27th, 2:00 in the afternoon. Once again, this is not only for hockey, but it's for a great cause as well. GH Pastor Foundation for Kids raised over about $30,000 last year for various charities. Just outstanding. Danny, it's funny you mentioned that because we had Chris Nyland on the show, and he talked about his moment walking into the locker room and seeing all those names. Did you have to have like a pinch yourself moment? Did you have to say, okay, breathe, don't go fanboy on these guys. You're one of the boys now. Tell me about that experience walking into the room and sitting next to all these guys that you grew up watching.
Yeah. So kind of how it worked was after the season there at Western, my agency that I was with, they were based out of Toronto. So I went to Toronto with my agent and some of the other guys there at the firm, and we sat down for a week and kind of met with all the teams who were interested in signing me. And so once I did go to Detroit, my agent he was from Kalamazoo, so on his way home he dropped me off in Detroit, and the next day was basically a practice day. So I kind of just showed up at the rink, and yeah, you mentioned try not to fanboy or nothing. I don't think a lot of guys really fanboy. They just worry about screwing up the first drill of the practice. I think that's more of the bigger issue because once you walk into the room, you find out that there's a reason that you're there. You know what I mean? And that's that you're probably a pretty good player. So you're getting that opportunity, not because you're just some guy off the street, but because you can actually play. So I think it's more so just getting through that first practice and, not catching an edge on the blue line had fallen or, screwing up the first drill of the day.
It was great. You get in there, you're with all those guys, you're not screwing up in practice. Let's go to April 14th, 2013. You guys are playing Nashville. You have the chance you get your first NHL point. Do you remember the play and do you have the puck?
I have the puck somewhere. Yeah, it's laying around here somewhere. Yeah, I definitely remember the play. It was, I was up top with the puck on the blue line, kind of walking the blue line, and I had a little bit of space, and I was just trying to buy some time for guys to get to the net, and it didn't really have much of a shooting lane, so I threw it off the back wall there, and Zetterberg was on the back side and just banged it home basically in the open net. So yeah, for sure, that was never forget a few things about your hockey career, your first game, your first point, your first goal, stuff like that. So that's one of those moments. Yeah, for sure. I'll cherish that, and definitely won't forget that one.
All right. And on cue, now I have to ask you about your first goal. I mean, what do you remember from your first goal? And you're far enough removed now that you can BS us and tell us how you walked somebody, and we can really turn this into something special if you want to.
Yeah. Right. Well, it wasn't that long ago. They still have video footage of it, so I gotta be somewhat honest, But yeah, so first goal was later in 2013. I remember that because I guess the next step is when you kind of make it and you're playing a bunch of games. It's like, all right, I just want to get the first goal and get it out of the way. You know what I mean? So the earlier that you can do that, the better. So I mentioned that I signed kind of 3/4 through the way of that lockout year. So I played, I think, like 13 games and didn't score a goal. So went through the summer, being like, all right, I got to get this thing early this next season. Right. So October rolls around and, whatever, playing pretty well, but, wasn't able to get a goal. And then November rolls around and, yeah, we're up in Winnipeg, and it was a shorty. I'm pretty sure it was a shorty. But it was off the draw. I remember it was Weiss, Stephen Weiss won the draw over to Cronwall. And back then we had so many lefties on the team at the time that I was playing the right hand side, which I only did that a little bit in my career, but that was one of the years and was one of the games that I was on the right side. And so it was a really clean win back to Cronwall. And, when you're shorthanded, if you win the puck that clean, it's just, you get it to somebody and they just try to pound it on the net. So, he threw it over to me and, put it right in my wheelhouse. And, I just tried to tee one up as hard as I could and went, off the post and in. And then, it was, a big time relief scoring that one.
Who was in net? Do you remember who was in net?
Al Montoya.
Wow.
Yep,
I
yep.
can never forget.
Another Michigan connection, huh?
Oh,
Right?
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's funny. I know. He was, he was in net, went in off the post. And, like I said, you're just kind of elated. You got the monkey off the back, and then it's kind of full steam ahead from there. You want to try to do it a lot more often.
All right, we got the first point. We got the first goal out of the way. I was going down a YouTube at rabbit hole, and I don't know if this was your first, but I found a fight that you were in out at center ice. Is it Josh Levo
Yeah.
going? And I'm like, no way, DeKaiser in a fight, something we never see. Tell us about that, and how scared were you?
Yeah, it was, I remember it vividly. That was, cause that was actually at LCA. I was in the box, I think, right before that. And, for like, I don't know, tripping or hooking. So just a 2-minute penalty in the, the 2 minutes is up and I step out on the ice and, for some reason the puck was right there and, I think he was skating by or something. And I kind of went to hit him and like partially missed him and, puck stayed right there, I believe. And then, we just got tangled up and then, next thing I knew it, the gloves were off and, trying to chuck some fists. That was about it.
That's great. Once again, Danny DeKaiser kindly joining us. He'll be one of the many NHL players out at the Red Wing Bruin alumni game, April 27th at Big Boy Arena. Make sure you check it out. VIP party afterwards at Cicerelli's. It really is a great time. Danny, I'm not going to mince words. I love Blash. You had a chance to play for Blash at Western, had a chance to play with him, of course, with the Red Wings. Your thoughts on Coach Blashill? It was just a bad time for him to be at Detroit, transition, et cetera, et cetera. I think the world of him as a coach. I think the world of him as a guy. What was it like playing for Blash?
Yeah, I mean, me and Blash had a good relationship. He was there my first year at Western, and he was a big part of turning the program around there. And that was his only year there. Like, I mentioned we had 4 wins the year before, and then I think we had close to 20 or something that next year. So you go from 4 wins to 20 in a college season, and that's pretty big change. And then after that, he went to Detroit as the assistant, I believe, for a year, maybe 2 years. And then went to Grand Rapids as a head coach there. So after my my 3rd year there at Western, once the Wings season ended that year, I went down to Grand Rapids and we actually won the Calder Cup that year and Blash was the coach there as well. So, Blash is a great guy. He's a really good coach. And like you mentioned, I think he got caught up in a team that was heading in a kind of a downward direction. And had traded a lot of higher end draft picks because of the playoff streak and all that was kind of going on with that. And, the team played in the conference semis or conference finals for so many years in a row that, they're buyers every year at the deadline. So whenever you're a buyer, a lot of the time you're giving up some pretty good draft picks, in hopes of trying to win the cup and, that it could kind of, take a toll on you maybe later down the road. And, we had so many good players and that they got in late rounds like Datsuk and Zetterberg that, ended up playing like 15 years. So you get kind of those great picks. You get a little lucky with them as well. And they turn out to be those types of players that basically carry the franchise for so long. And, once they were kind of getting older and retiring and all that, it was a little bit of the end of the road for us a few of those years because we were trying to transition, trying to make it, a rebuild kind of on the fly type of deal. And, Blast was just he was the guy at the time and took over the team. And it was just kind of that a little bit of a downward slope. Made some good draft picks through the years that maybe didn't pan out as well as they would have liked. And, that's kind of how the story goes.
That's nice. Something that's near and dear to mine and Sean's heart is the Michigan high school hockey. We call games. Sean is very involved with it. You now, in turn, in retirement, are a little bit involved with De La Salle. Can you tell us a little bit about You went the U18 junior route. You're working with some high school kids. What is some advice you have for these high school players that you see out there?
Well, I mean, anytime I'm on the ice with those guys, I try to tell them just to go out there and have fun, but be focused and be dialed in, depending on what they're trying to do. Everybody has a different goal. I think ultimately everybody would like to play in the NHL, and that's everybody's goal probably at some point. But at certain points in your in a player's career, sometimes you have a realization that different goals might not be attainable, or you might not get to where you're trying to get to. So there's some guys that their goal was to, maybe make the varsity team or maybe play high school through their senior year and all that. And there's other players that want to keep playing after high school. So, it's just kind of like making sure that everybody's having fun out there, making sure everyone's having a good time, but making sure everybody's dialed in because, there's guys that will end up playing past high school, and you just want everybody to try to push each other to help you go as far as you can. So, maybe some of the guys that maybe they know they're going to be done or whatever. It's just, hey, keep it dialed in, push these guys, make everybody better, and you never know, make yourself better, and just see how things shake out from there.
I'm going to get our mutual friend Chad LaRose on, but this gives me an opportunity to give him a shout out. Heck of a job by Rosie this year with the Pilots. Huh? I mean, I told him just a great job getting that team going and taking them as far as he did.
Yeah. Yeah, Rosie's a great guy. He's fun to work with. I was getting out for practices there with the team, a few practices a month. He's running a really good practice. He's very vocal and he brings he's high energy guy, so he brings a lot of energy to the practice and all the skates, and gets the team going, gets the guys going, and from what it looked like everybody liked him as a coach and respected him and tried to play hard for him. So that's really all you can ask. And he had a good year there, his first year as the coach. So hopefully that continues from there in the next season.
It's great. If I got this right, I believe in 2018, you were put up in the Ring of Honor out at Western Michigan. And we hear these guys that have these honors when they're in their college years after an NHL career. What's that like? I mean, going back and then seeing your name put up there back at Western Michigan.
Well, it was really special for me because Western was kind of where my career took a pretty big jump in a positive direction. All the coaching staff there, and all the athletic people, all the staff and all that were just great people, and they just helped us to get every opportunity that we could. Western's not a big money school like some of the Big Ten schools are, so some of the budget is a little bit different. But for us on the hockey team, they tried to make everything that we did the best that they could do, and it's just one of those things where that was kind of where I made a name for myself. And I go back every year for the alumni golf outing in July and see all the guys there. And it's just a fun weekend because some guys make it back every year. Some guys you don't see for maybe 3-4 years. And it's just fun because, you never lose those relationships and those connections to those guys, especially after having some good years and winning some big time games.
Danny, one more question before we let you go. And I want to remind people, you can see Danny and a ton of former Red Wings and ton of former Rangers. I mean, wait till you see the rosters, guys. They're outstanding. April 27th at Big Boy Arena. That is a spot, 2:00 in the afternoon. Again, it's fun. It's for charity. It is an absolute win-win. But I'm going to ask you one question before we go. You're in your own end. You see a guy flying over the blue line. Who struck the fear of God in you more than anybody else coming down on that wing or up the middle of the ice, whatever the case may be? Who was it every time you saw him, you got a lump in your throat?
Yeah, I mean, it probably, there's so many good players, but anytime McDavid or McKinnon have the puck, they're electric. You know what I mean? Those guys are so good. And McKinnon's having such a good year this year. But I think, in years past, he was a little bit sometimes overshadowed by McDavid. And I always told people when he was playing, I'm like, man, this guy, he's the real deal. He might not be quite a McDavid, but he's bigger, he's stronger in the corners. He makes just as good of plays, and he's a little bit overshadowed at times. So it was definitely probably both of those guys. Anytime they had the puck, you got to be aware, and they definitely you take notice 100% when they're coming down on you.
No substitute for speed, that's for sure. Danny, appreciate the time. Happy belated birthday to your wife, by the way. We got to give a shout out to her as well. Hey, really appreciate the time. Thanks for the memories. And I know we're all going to make some more memories. April 27th at Big Boy Arena as the Wings alumni take on the Rangers alumni. Looking forward to seeing you there, Danny, and appreciate the time.
Yeah. Sounds good. Should be a good event, and looking forward to it. And thanks for having me on tonight.
Oh, thank you. Really appreciate it. Danny DeKaiser kindly joining us here on Wutt The Puck. What a great guy, huh?
What a great guy, and what another local legend. I mean, obviously, way after my time or anyone's time, but the kids that grow up here locally, maybe some of them are listening here, they remember Danny DeKaiser. They remember him at CompuWare, then coming to Western Michigan, then getting to do what every one of us dreamed of doing in our driveway when we were shooting tennis balls in the net, and that's play for the put that winged wheel.
Unbelievable. Yeah. What an unbelievable career. No doubt. I mean, it's fantastic. And, I always like to ask guys because, everybody's got their different path. I mean, you're not necessarily going to be that kid who's drafted at 18 and maybe even up with the club after a year or two a junior. Sometimes that path takes a little bit longer to get there. And, Danny just kept playing his game, and I think that worked in his benefit.
And if you follow his path, it's like that everywhere he went, right? As he said, usually, the guys that leave, that they have that last year of U16 and boom, they're in the USHL. And then guys get up to the U18 for maybe play 2 years of U18 and then didn't go right to the USHL. Remember he said, I didn't like not being drafted, but hey, that's the way it was. So he chased it in the BCHL, has a nice year, heads over to the USHL on his own. Western Michigan comes knocking, right? 3 years at Western Michigan, he's not drafted. Now he's got teams knocking from the NHL right there. Perseverance, Danny DeKaiser.
Yep, no doubt about that. So once again, April 27th at 2:00 in the afternoon at Big Boy Arena. Guys, trust me, it is a fantastic event. I was very fortunate to call the game against the Bruins. This is game number 2, and I'm not going to let any cats out of the bag. But let's just say there are some more games being scheduled. Now, when they tell me I'm allowed to talk about it, I'll talk about it. But there are some more games being scheduled.
I just hope I get the invite.
Of course, buddy. Of course, pal. Hey, listen, before I get your thoughts on the Wings game last night, I was down at LCA. Fantastic atmosphere. It was great they won, but ... let me tell you about our friends at Wealth Vantage Group. Mike and Jeff do such a fantastic job, not only with my family, I mean, they're friends of mine, but what they're known for is taking care of people just like you and me. And if you're ready to take charge of your financial future, well, then look no further than the Wealth Advantage Group, located in historic downtown Northville, owned by those two guys, two brothers, my friends, with over 20 years of industry experience. They understand that your financial goals are as unique as you are. That's why they offer personalized expert guidance to help you navigate the complexities of financial planning. Now, whether you're saving for retirement, getting ready to sell your company, or already in retirement, they can help guide you through every step of your financial journey. They work with clients throughout all stages of the life and have clients in over 20 states. The investment world is a complex one, so if you're ready to start taking your finances more seriously, I think it's time to call these guys, the Wealth Advantage Group guys, at 248-773-8574, or visit their website at www.thewealthadv.com. So earlier today, Mike, I did a show with Shep, and I brought this up to Shep, and I thought that Shep was going to backhand me when I brought this up. All right? And I know you better. I know you won't backhand me. Well, if you had a problem, you just hit me over the head with that water bottle. But I have a feeling you're going to agree with me on this. Listen, it's great that the Red Wings won. It's fantastic that Lucas Raymond continues the hot streak, scores the goal late, Kaner's the hero in overtime. I am not trying to poo-poo it. It was a huge 1 point, let alone 2 points, okay? So I'm not going to stick on the mud on anybody here, okay? They did it against the Columbus Blue Jackets. You play that way tomorrow night, even with the Islanders suddenly struggling, or against pretty much anybody else, and you're going to get it run out the ring.
100%. And I don't know if you caught any of the social media feedback of the game. It took a non-call in overtime, a last-second goal against the Columbus Blue Jackets. Me and you had a discussion before we got in. Something still ain't right.
I agree.
Something still ain't right.
I agree.
I didn't like Kane had some comments after it. It wasn't a bad comment. It's just the way it kind of came across this. Well, maybe this is that moment we need. I don't know. I don't see that, but just trying to stay positive and giving credit. Lucas Raymond has grown up before our eyes in the last month of hockey, and we've got to stick to that. And hopefully that can kind of get infectious in the locker room, and everyone else can kind of catch on. But again, there is something brewing in that locker room. I don't like the feel of it. I don't like going against Columbus in a game at this time of year, and you still only have a handful of guys playing.
They to give up what was it, 3 breakaways in the first 12 and a half minutes, and they were outshot 20-6. And the thing that frightens me is the brief periods of time where the Red Wings come on, because there was a period of time in the second period where it almost looked like the Babcock era of puck possession. They constantly had the puck in the Columbus zone for a few minutes to kind of get themselves back in the game. And then we were talking about the same in the third period, after like looking like literally the Walking Dead, they kind of have that revitalization. And again, guys, I'm not poo-pooing, and I know somebody's going to go, why do you have to be negative? I think you have to think bigger picture. It's great that it happened against Columbus, and it gives you a chance. Don't forget they've got 2 more games coming up against the Capitals as well. How the Capitals are doing it, Mike, I don't know. I watch them. There's nothing special about them. I know Dylan's a good player. They've been getting good goaltending, not great goaltending by Lindgren, but right now they're finding a way to win hockey games. All of a sudden, Ovi had a couple the other night. What I'm trying to say is if they don't pick this up, okay, you're not going to get away with that like you did last night against Columbus. That's a game I'm convinced against probably ever a loss against every other team in the league.
And you've got to look at who the Wings are going to be playing. But back to Washington, you said you were watching them. It's like, I've got to watch these guys. I got to see how they're doing it. And not only watching, but listening to the feed. All they talked about was the change in defensive philosophy. They went to man-to-man. They were talking about, I can't believe Washington's going man-to-man, and can they do it? I think this is something that Wings fans should be afraid of in the short term. That is something that could catch on real quick. Ovechkin's catching on. That locker room's going to catch on a little bit. They had some changes in there. I don't trust Lindgren in that. I mean, that he's playing well because they are keeping everything bay. But this can happen short-term enough that Wings fan needs to be concerned with 2 games against Washington.
Agreed.
A game Thursday against the Islanders. Another game against Buffalo, Carolina, Florida. I mean, it's not getting any easier for here. And if you're going to play the way you've been playing, even though they've been getting points, they've been playing poorly. And again, you go against a good team and only a handful of guys are playing, they're going to get crushed.
Our buddy Paul said, what's up, gentlemen? I use that term very loosely. Thank you as always, Paul. McKinnon has what Connor does not, a cup. And he said, the boys aren't playing first. Newsy time to bring back Jeff. What's interesting? I'm not going to say a name because I don't know if he wants me to, but I was talking to a prominent wing yesterday who kind of felt the same way that I did. And he said he didn't know the answer to it because I think I said it last week on Wutt The Puck. And I know you and I, there's something off. I don't know what it is. Okay. And I think for about a week and a half now, it seems like the only line that night in, night out goes out and competes and sometimes win a shift is the Raymond line. And it's been that way for a while. Like in particular, Mike, when I was watching the game against the Penguins, which was awful. If you didn't watch that game, do you agree? I don't think you and I even talked about it.
I was at the rink all weekend.
Yeah, that's right.
I missed the last week.
Awful. Just awful. And it's one of those things where shift after shift after shift after shift, you saw them being outcompeted, outworked. And the Raymond line was kind of the exception to the rule. And, maybe some backdrop now to the much ado about nothing as far as I'm concerned. No offense to anybody out there. I know everybody's got to find something in the news cycle. Like Ben Sherratt and Lucas Raymond shoving each other in practice is such a nothing thing. It just is. You have no idea how often it happens. Like, I'm not trying to be funny. It happens all the time. It just so happened that this happened while they were in a swim.
Oh, and it was cute that they come into each other's. But again, so it's not that big of a deal. But again, let's get back to what we're really talking about. There's something going on.
There's something going on.
So there's this scrum that happens in the practice. Not a big deal. But then these two guys that supposedly scrum are sticking up for each other on the ice. Well, Raymond jumps on someone's back that I think was on Cop. Then here comes it. But nobody else. It's like there's a split, there's a divide, and then there's some dead weight on that team right now. And hopefully they can figure it out and say, hey, maybe I've got to do something because I got to extend my career here. I got to get going because some of them are looking pretty bad. Again, we talked about this at the very beginning, very first Wutt The Puck about the defensive struggles and the defense right now. I mean, you had Edmonton out there for 18 minutes. I like that. I like that because we've been saying we got to get these guys in here. Quit telling me about the depth we have down there. Start bringing it up. So hopefully we'll start seeing a little bit more of that. But Sean, you just whispered it. I don't know if they cut. Awful. It is not
awful.
Good. It's getting back to 3 years ago for hard to watch.
Somebody asked me when they brought Petrie back in the summer. Somebody asked me how much tread does he have left? And now, in fairness, I didn't watch him as closely with Pittsburgh as I did while he was in Montreal. But as a nerd, much like this guy who watches a lot of hockey, he's got a lot of tread left. And Jeff is a great guy. Dan is a great guy. Okay. Nothing personal here. Jeff looks like he's very close to the end of the road. And it might be he's struggling. There might be an injury I don't know about. Okay, whatever. But you have to understand, at this age and this point in time in his career, a lot of those whispers are going to start coming. I mean, he has not looked good. And I think Jeff would probably be the first guy to say, hey, listen, this hasn't been a banner year for me in my return to Detroit.
And it doesn't help. We've said this time and time again, the position some Red Wing players get put in that they shouldn't be in. And it's nothing against him. It's that at this point in his career, and not only that, but the way the defense as a whole is playing, you're putting him out there. Now he's out there with Edmonton, who's 3 games into his career. That doesn't help at all. There's no supporting cast there for him. So he is struggling, but that's where, again, we'll never know. Sometimes you get those whispers and you find it out of what exactly is going on. Are there guys that are already out the door? Then we have some youth. We have guys that are already moved on to another team. I don't know. They're not playing as easy.
I'm telling you right now, I don't know. Yeah. I can't stand when people speculate. I think there are enough educated hockey fans out there. If you are wasting your time on a Wednesday night watching us two blowhards, chances are you're an educated hockey fan. You know what your eyes are telling you. It's a little bit of this, it's a little bit of that, and it's a whole heck of a lot of getting beat on shifts, in corners, and it just so many little things, and all those little things add up to big things. Can I talk about the Motor City Rockers, by the way? The playoff-bound Motor City Rockers. This weekend, you can catch the Motor City Rockers as they hit the road to face off against the Columbus River Dragons in an electrifying 3-game series. Don't miss a minute of the action. Tune into the River Dragons YouTube channel to stream the games live. Mark your calendars for the following games this weekend: Friday, 7:35, Saturday puck drop at 7:05, and I love those Sunday matinee games, 4:05 in the afternoon on Sunday. Get ready for a thrilling weekend of hockey. Rockers will be home the week after that, and did I mention they're playoff bound? So congratulations to Gordy and Nick and the entire Rockers franchise on that. Look at our buddy Kirk just said, I got nothing else to do. Coach Kirk Connor joining us.
Hey,
Paul had some thoughts on the wings. Too much D zone time. Very few wing defenders can make that first pass to move that group into transition on the rush.
that's exactly what we're talking. This is the one that scares me. We don't know. We don't want to speculate, but a coach losing the room is probably one of the worst things that could happen.
100%.
I will take a divided locker room with a coach that's going to bring them together. You know what? He's going to earn it here. The way they end this is going to be on his legacy and who he is as a Red Wing coach. So let's hope that's not what it is, and they can get it together, and somehow Washington turns into Washington. I don't know.
I think Coach Lalonde is a great guy.
Yep.
I really do. I'm a big fan of his. I'm sure that 85% of the people out there don't get the whole Newsy thing. And if you don't, there's Newsy Lalonde, and then there's Newsy Lalonde. Look that up for you hockey geeks out there. I'm sure some of you hockey geeks probably know who Newsy Lalonde is. Not to be confused with Red Wing coach Newsy Lalonde. Okay. You know who Newsy Lalonde is. Yeah, there we go. Mike, it's interesting because here we're talking about the Stanley Cup playoffs coming up. I saw something the other day, and for the life of me now, gosh damn it. See, I told you, this has been one of those days, dude.
You're not
My
sleeping.
brain's not working right.
You're not sleeping.
Hi, I'm Sean Belegian for lack of sleep. But no, listen. Gosh, what was I watching? Somebody was all about Winnipeg and said that they think that Winnipeg might be the team to beat in the West. And here's the crazy thing about the West right now. I think you could make a compelling argument. I think you could make a compelling argument for Vancouver. Yes, I mean that. I still like Colorado. That was my preseason pick. And quite frankly, I'm going to stick with them. I changed it in the East. I'll tell you about it in a second.
Okay.
But I still like Colorado. Obviously, the champ, and people are going to have something to say about that. Winnipeg is a very intriguing team right now.
Yeah. I heard someone talking, was on the NHL channel again. I'm not going to know who it is, talking about Winnipeg. And they brought up this year that Carey Price had where he may or may not have won the MVP. And can Hellebuyck be good enough this year to be the MVP? And the way they're playing and when they're healthy and when they're clicking, there's no reason to say not, because you ride that hot goaltender. And right now, Connor Hellebuyck is earning every penny that he got with that big contract. And there's no way that they can't. You look at it. Now, when I look at the West, I've been meaning to ask you this, that the thing that strikes me is, and I'll ask you, and you can see if you're on the same page as me. Well, who's the team in the West you don't want to play? Now, who's going to win it all? Who do you not want to play?
Okay, I'm going to answer it. I'm still picking Colorado. I seriously wouldn't want to play Vancouver. I wouldn't want to play Vancouver.
So my 43-1 ticket loves to hear that. I don't want to play the LA Kings.
Okay.
That
fair.
is a pesky. They got veterans. They've got speed. They've got youth. Talbot's come along. They got some goaltending. I knew I'd draw a blank on the other goaltender, but I'm watching them and I'm continually seeing highlights, and I'm like, I wouldn't want to play them. That has a sneaky first round win on it. We'll have to wait to see how it all plays out. But yeah, I still in the West, where my money is. My money's on Vancouver because I couldn't pass that 43-1 ticket up. However, Colorado, the horses.
I still think they're the team to beat.
I'm still waiting to see if Landeskog's going to Kucherov it and be back for the playoffs. I know in the beginning of the year, I was very high on Edmonton. This is going to be the year, but they're just still Edmonton. They just are still Edmonton to me, and I can't trust them. So Colorado, but now you've got me intrigued. What did you change in the East? I think I know.
I went with Carolina at the beginning of the year. And as well as they're playing right now, especially at home, I think they're 11-1-1 since the start of the new year. Florida turned into Florida again. I'm sorry. I changed my mind last month. And, I always like to go back and say what I thought at the beginning of the year. I thought Colorado over Carolina. I still think Colorado and Florida though. But Carolina, I'm going to say it again. It's almost like they're the forgotten. They're the forgotten team out there, and all they do is win, especially at home. But I'm sorry, I'm going to say it again. I think Florida is a playoff hockey team.
I agree. I thought that you were going to come back to Carolina because they are playing some nasty, nasty
Big
hockey.
time.
And I need a Carolina, Florida playoff.
Oh,
That would be unbelievable. Must watch. It's been a long time since it's like you can't miss this series right here, and I've been looking forward to it.
Wasn't that the series we were watching last year when you and I made the sausage and shrimp? I think that was the game. And then I left your house and I said,
Kachuk won in overtime.
Yes,
He won like
yes.
15 games in a row in overtime.
absolutely.
Didn't
Yes.
he? It was absolutely what it is. Now, this year, the way Carolina has built themselves to that, and they're going to need obviously goaltending. Anderson's going to have to, I don't know if he's 100% healthy. But the two teams are built and play so similarly. It's solid, nasty playoff hockey. I mean, again, I hope they all lose to Vancouver, but I need that series.
Would you have 46-1?
43-1.
Jeez, dude. How much you have on it?
Not enough, because I would love to retire.
Wouldn't that be? I watched, speaking to your point of Edmonton last night, by the way, for Wings fans, Toronto up on top of the Caps, 1-0 right now. Matthews with number 56.
I check all the time.
If you're keeping track at home, he needs 14 and 14.
Okay.
So as Mike said, though, Mike's call originally, I don't want to put words in your mouth. So if I'm not telling a truth here, hit me. You didn't think he'd hit 70 because of his streakiness.
Yes, I said hard no. He's too streaky. And what I said, he also is due to get a little ding. He gets a little ding at the end of the year. I don't want anyone getting hurt. I want to see 70 goals.
Yeah.
I don't want to see that. But streaky as streaky can be. And a lot
Factual
of
statement.
He's kind of
He has.
falling off
he
it
has.
because he's on a little bit of a cold streak. But then again, now saying this, he's got 3 or 4 of them.
Yeah, he scored tonight because he was on pace, if I'm not mistaken, for 68. And scoring tonight now, again, it would be after tonight, there's 14 games left. So he has to get 14 and 14.
Okay.
And being the streaky guy that he is, that could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. Because as you said, he might go for 6 in the next 3 games, like no problem. And then if he goes through that period of 6, 7, 8 games, I watched Edmonton last night.
Okay.
And I think you know who they played last night. So when I got home from the game, I watched Edmonton last night, and I don't like their chances in the playoffs. I just don't. I don't. They're exciting. They'll probably do one of those golly gee, what a heck of a playoff series and losing 7 to somebody. But I listen, and all respect in the world to Draisaitl, all the respect in the world to Connor McDavid. There are pieces there. There's no doubt about it. I think you still have to worry about their back end. I think you have to worry about their depth on that team as well.
It's what Edmonton is. I didn't watch, but I saw the highlights, what I watch every morning, and some just dynamite goals by Draisaitl and McDavid,
Mhm.
right? I mean, when they start laying off and playing D because they have to protect that back end, which isn't the strongest, you start to lose them a little bit. You're going to lose Edmonton. They were on that streak. Hyman had 500 goals.
Yeah.
Zach Hyman.
Yeah.
I mean, hey, look, all the power to you. You're scoring your goals. You're putting it in the net, but I can't sit here and say, hey, Edmonton's going to be make a run in the playoffs. Zach Hyman's leading them up, through the playoffs. I can't do it. And that's that delicate balance when you don't have that super strong back end.
I love those guys that, like, I make the joke all the time. Like when Carey Price took the Habs to the Cup in 21, like he fell out of bed, he banged his head really hard, and he woke up and he thought it was 2014. He was the best goaltender in the world again. And that crazy run that Edmonton made in 06, it was Fernando Pisani. Remember, that little bastard scored every night. It was just every night that guy scored a goal. He was unconscious in the first period. You thought, okay, that's cute. There's your, for our generation.
Yes.
John Druce moment. The John Druce moment. And, there was always, okay, who's the John Druce going to be this year? The guy that just, some nondescript player who just goes off and everything. And Pisani kept it up. He led the damn league in goals that playoff. It's amazing how that works itself out. All right, a couple things before we get out of here. First, can I tell you about our friends at Legacy? I want to get your thoughts, Mike, on Michigan State this weekend. That is just a massive matchup. I'm sorry, I'm one of those guys. I think it's absolutely great for everybody involved. But did you know that thousands of Metro Detroiters have already called Legacy Partners to get help with their home and auto insurance? Our friends at Legacy Partners are one of Southeast Michigan's top independent insurance agents and provide a full-service, one-stop solution for all your insurance needs, personal, business, large, and small. Guys, put them to the test. Give them a call. Ask for a free quote. You will be satisfied. You know why? Because Legacy has helped our listeners by fixing mistakes other agents have made, asking the right questions to get the right coverage put in place to properly protect you and help you save some money. Chances are, if you haven't checked your policies in the last year, you're paying too much and you could be underinsured. What are you waiting for? Give Legacy Partners a chance to help with your home, car, life insurance, Medicare enrollment, business insurance, whatever the case may be. Get your free quote. What are you waiting for? Give them a call. 586-209-4106. That's 586-209-4106, or visit legacypartnersins.com to get started with your new quotes. Tell them that we sent you. I promise you, Joe and Alex and Dave are going to take great care of you. Here's what Paul said. Oilers Tendy doesn't get hurt in 06. Chad LaRose and the Hurricanes don't win it. You Dwayne Rolison, right? That was one of his magical little runs, as fate would have it. All right, so now obviously you guys know who I'm rooting for. Okay, go green. All right. I love the fact that Michigan was able to get their season back with all the talent they had, because all year long, what did people say about Michigan? What's going on with Naruto? Look at all the talent he has, blah, 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 blah. Well, you know what? Props to Coach Naruto for getting the boys going in the right direction at the right time. In all likelihood, they punched their ticket into the NCAA tournament, I'm guessing. I think that's a pretty good educated guess now by virtue of this run. But Mike, Michigan State at Munn on Saturday night doesn't get much bigger than that.
No, and I'm excited for it. I mean, for one, it puts the spotlight on college hockey, which we love college hockey. We love to watch it. I actually thought we missed an opportunity for U of M MSU last week when Ohio State won. It was Ohio State, I think, that won, that then it switched up the matchups, right?
Yep.
But both MSU and U of M get the wins. They are going to be meeting Saturday night. Now, I've heard some people talk about this game should be at Little Caesars. This should be downtown. They'd be able to sell it out.
No, sir.
And our friend Danny Walsh put a tweet out saying, you know what? They would sell it out. However, part of this event is on campus. It's college. Put it on campus. MSU won the Big Ten. They deserve to be there.
I like that, Danny Walsh.
Yes. And I'm this close to going.
Are you really?
Yeah. Had an opportunity. Had an opportunity to go.
I might have to see you up there. I'll just leave it at that.
I had an opportunity to possibly go last week, but obviously I was a little bit busy. I was tied up at the hockey rink. So I'm bugging the same person to see if the same hookup can come through, because I would love to see that. I think it's going to be an unbelievable atmosphere.
And worst comes to worse, and he already said he would. So, Coach, don't get ticked at me for saying this. We'll get Coach Nightingale on the show when we can chat to him that way.
That is great.
We already talked to him, and he said anytime. So, awesome. Coach, I'm going to hold you to that. Okay. I agree with what Paul said. MSU earned it. I would say the exact same thing if the situation was reversed. If Michigan earned the right to host that game by virtue of winning the Big Ten during the regular season, I think you have to respect that. You do.
Absolutely.
You have to respect that. And I think that's certainly the case right now. Look at broadcasting live from the Harrison Roadhouse. We could do some. Or my daughter's dorm room. I'm sure that would go over huge. I'm sure that would go over huge. Hey, Team Michigan, I haven't seen the roster yet. Maybe you can check, but I will say, and I'm going to make you blush, congratulations to your son, Sebastiano Iveson, a member of Team Michigan. I think that's a fantastic honor indeed. Paul said, congrats to Seb, and holy moly.
Yeah.
Is Holy Moly going too?
No, Holy Moly's not going. He coached Holy Moly.
Oh, I know he
way
did.
way back in the day. So I think that's more of a
Maybe for the
state
state champions. Okay. All
thing.
right.
But yeah, Sean,
Is it out yet?
it's not. It's not.
Okay.
It's not out yet. But your boy Sebastiano, man, did he go and he did everything
He did.
that was asked of him? So when you do that, and this is what I told him today, I said you did everything that was asked of you before this camp. So to do that, it's something special then to get that reward. So that was just an unbelievable phone call that he got this morning, and I'm sure he's still elated about
You
it.
know what? And it's funny. It's like Uncle Sean told him 5-6 years ago, play like Brendan Gallagher.
Yeah.
And you know what? When I was out in Livonia last week, what jumped out to me, I don't want to say played like Gallagher because Gallagher's,
Yeah.
Gallagher. But you know what? That kid went to every dirty spot on the ice, and he found a way to get that gritty goal. He found a way to battle. He finished his checks. He did all the little things, and when you do that, you can check the box across the board. I wasn't shocked that he got that flame call.
I'm so happy for him, and you know me, I don't like talking about myself or anything. He earned it. It was great. But I just hope a couple of people out there that were listening to us took our advice. Sean, the hockey this weekend was top notch. The top seniors and juniors from Michigan out there, and even the parents of the kids that were there, they just kept saying the pace, the physicality. It was a real unbelievable thing. You missed it this year. Make sure you mark it on your calendar for next year. If you get a chance, follow it, and maybe you'll see where the dates that they will be doing. They will have a scrimmage before they go to Minnesota. And me and you had an opportunity to watch that last year. Obviously, we'll be there watching it this year. That is also a great pace and a great hockey game.
They had some great coaches involved with both those teams, the senior and junior team. Coach Gadwa at Heartland, Coach Breyer at Clarkson, of course, with the junior team, David Mitchell. You familiar with him? From Livonia Stevenson, and of course, our buddy Micah from Houghton. So congratulations to all the guys that did make it. Really looking forward to it and represent the state, right? It was fantastic going and finding a way to win last year. No doubt about that. Because you know what? I'm sick and gosh damn tired of Minnesota. To go out there and have the Michigan boys beat Minnesota was pretty stinking cool.
I mean, Minnesota, Massachusetts, North Dakota, Colorado, and Wisconsin, I believe. So, I mean, those are a lot of the states that Michigan schools want to play. You know, you got Notre Dame and such up in Wisconsin, obviously Minnesota, all the prep schools out in Massachusetts and stuff. Though their top seniors are coming. Like it is something. It'll be on Minnesota Hockey TV or whatever it is. I watched it last year and it was great watching Team Michigan win, and hopefully we can represent again this year.
No doubt about it. All right, before we get out of here, let's talk to you about our friends at Broadwell Homes. And, you know, when it's time for you to buy, sell, sometimes both, a lot of times both, you need to contact the right agent. That young lady right there is the agent that I recommend, Lindsay Broadwell. Your house is probably the biggest investment you'll ever make, and that's why you need a pro. Lindsay grew up on the mean streets of Northville and has expanded her team all over Southeast Michigan. She's an expert in all facets of business. Now, when it's time to move, our friend Lindsay and her team will make sure you get the most out of your house and that everything goes smoothly when finding your new home. Buyer, seller, first-time buyer, doesn't matter. You want to deal with a pro. So you need to make sure that you contact Lindsay at BroadwellHomes.com. She will help you with everything from start to close. Licensed realtor at Real Broker LLC. Start your search today at BroadwellHomes.com. All right, here's the weekly question. And I think we've both vacillated. Okay. So what is it? What today? The 20th? March 20th?
March 20th.
Red Wings in or out?
I'm still staying in, and part of it is because I don't trust what's below. The only thing that would worry me would be the Islanders, but I trust that this is going to get together. This locker room's going to get together. Hopefully, the win, as ugly as it was, because as I said, and I think I was texting you and Blake last night, sometimes you got to win ugly. I mean, and that's what that was. I'm still right there. I haven't wavered over the probably the last week. I'm not too far over 50% either, but I'm still on the playoff train. Absolutely.
As crappy as that game was last night, we talked about it earlier. In case you missed that, we also had Danny DeKaiser on. Make sure you check it out later. Like us on Facebook and Twitter and all the podcast places and the YouTube channel. We'd love for you guys to subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can go see all the dumb conversations we've had. There's nothing better than a teachable moment during a win, as crappy as they played. You still had a teachable moment during a win. I think barely in and quickly out. Then I'm sticking with that.
Yeah.
Barely in and very quickly out.
Yeah,
regardless of who they play.
100%.
I like it. Todd said if they beat the Wildlanders, they'll make it.
Oh boy, that's gonna be a big game tomorrow night. But let's not forget, you got 2 against Washington, another one against Buffalo, who just literally destroyed you.
Yeah,
that was embarrassing.
All right, we got to get out of here. Todd, thank you. Double duty today. Really, really appreciate it. We're off for a couple days, and I think Blake and I are going to get back together on Friday night for a conversation about the tournament. But Mike, always a pleasure with you. Thanks to Danny DeKaiser. Don't forget, guys, April 27th at Big Boy Arena, Wings Alumni taking on the Ranger Alumni. It is going to be a fantastic game. If you don't believe me, go seek out those rosters. Those rosters are unbelievable. Some of the guys, they're going to be there. I mean, Hank Lundqvist is going to be there, for goodness sake. Like, come on. Forget about the guys that we grew up watching, but, I mean, the king for all intents and purposes. In the meantime, we'll see you next week. For Mike Iveson, I'm Sean Belegian. See ya.
Wutt The Puck, featuring Sean Belegian. Produced by Todd Losey and Blake Matrazek. Executive produced by Sean Belegian and Todd Losey. Theme song and incidental music by Elliot Middleton. Engineering, mixing, and graphic design support provided by the Unsyndicated podcast team. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Wutt The Puck on all your favorite channels. While you're there, be sure to rate and review the podcast. Got something to say to Sean? Call the Unsyndicated hotline at 248-237-3257.